Evening, everybody, and welcome to this Planning Committee of Tuesday, the 12th of September. I'm Councillor Amanda Burrell and I'm the chair of this committee. We'll just do some introductions, starting with Councillor Asher in that corner, and we'll just work our way around the table, and then I've got something to read out to you. Councillor Asher, Lebanon Ward.
Peter Elliott, Stanley Scrap.
Councillor Moder, Bilston and Tilton Ward.
Simon Wellband, Kibworth.
Mark Patterson, Strategic Growth Team Manager.
Nicola Parry, Development Management Team Leader.
Adrian Eastwood, Service Manager, Development Management.
James Felton, Locum Solicitor, Harbour District Council.
Christine Alsasser, Democratic Services Clerk.
Peter James, District Councillor for Little Bowden Ward, Market Harborough.
Councillor Jim Knight, Lutterworth, Councillor for Lutterworth West. I'm subbing for Councillor Gare.
Councillor Mahal, Glen Ward.
Councillor Worrell, South Broughton Astley and Lear.
Thank you very much. Now, I've just got a few things to read out to the public. All present are reminded to adhere to the following safety procedures. Wipes and sanitisers have been provided on the table for speakers. Please use these before and after each speaking slot, ready for the speakers on the subsequent application. The meeting will be recorded and live streamed by HDC. Members and public speakers must use the desk microphones, otherwise the recording will not work. Only two microphones, in addition to the chairman's, can be on at the same time. Mobile phones. Members and the public should switch off their phones. Fire exits. The fire exits are there and there. The meeting point is at the top end of Mill Hill Car Park. We're not expecting any test alarms tonight. Leaving during the meeting. People may come and go normally during the meeting. The council is aware that planning applications may be controversial and emotive for those affected by the decisions made by this committee. However, all persons present are reminded that the council will not tolerate abusive or aggressive behaviour towards staff or other visitors attending this meeting, and anyone behaving inappropriately will be required to leave the meeting and the building. Right, item on the agenda is apologies for absence and notifications of substitutions. Councillor Gare has apologised for the meeting and he's substituted by Councillor Knight. Thank you. Declarations of members' interests. I believe there is one.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. On the Kibworth application, as I called it in and have a view on it already, I say that I'm fairly predetermined on this one, so I will leave the room during.
Thank you, Councillor.
Yeah, thank you.
The next item is the draft minutes to approve as a correct record minutes of the planning committee meeting on the 11th of July. Have we all read them? Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Moder?
I'm happy to propose.
Can I have a seconder? Councillor James, thank you. All in favour? Thank you very much. To answer written questions or receive petitions submitted by the public, there are none. Referral up to the council by the planning committee to consider any referrals under part 3, section B 1.4 of the council's constitution. Are there any referrals? No, good. Right, we get to the index, to the applications for determination then. The first application is 22/02180/FUL car park, High Street, Fleckney, page 11 of your papers. Presenting officer is Mark Patterson. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Chair. This application relates to a previous application that was considered by the by the local authority back in 2018. And the site has been under construction now for the last few years. The application before us tonight seeks to redesign the front part of the existing site in an area of the site which previously allowed for the erection of a building with 3 retail units at ground floor and 8 apartments over the first and second floors. Then to the front of the site, there would have been a public plaza with car parking to the rear of the site. The application before us tonight seeks to redesign that, allowing for 8 dwellings to be provided on the site, with car parking to the front and a small community space to the front right-hand side of the site. So if we quickly run through the application slides, you can see this on here. It shows the application site within the context of Fleckney. Go on to the aerial photo. You can see the application site itself is in this area here at the front of the site. You can see the wider development and progressing as it was at that stage beyond the application site. Later in the presentation, there are some photos of the development as it is at the moment, so you can see how far it has progressed. So this is the proposed layout that's before us this evening. As you can see, you have the 8 dwellings running alongside the access road with the car park to the front of the site. And then this area here where the Scout Hut currently sits would be given over as a community space. In terms of the dwellings themselves, these are the proposed elevations and layouts of the dwellings. So these are the 3-bed properties. And then these are the proposed 2-bed properties. So very similar in style, just slightly smaller than the 3-bed units. In terms of the finish of the property, these are the materials that the applicants are suggesting. So you can see that it's quite a contemporary mix of materials with the grey out of the site, windows and doors, and then red brick finish. This shows the street scene of the proposal. So you can see the 8 properties running along here with the car park at the front of the site. And then the lower one shows that in the context of the high street and the doctor's surgery on the opposite side of the road. We also have some CGIs of the scheme. So this is the view from the access road looking at the properties. That I mentioned at the start, this is the layout that's been proposed for it. The space would allow for a space for community gatherings. There's potential for location for a Christmas tree. You could also have small market features on the site. Again, it's CGI of the area showing how that could be laid out. Again, another one from the other side of the road. This CGI shows the community space in the context of the dwellings along the access road as well. The front part of the site would be retained in its current status as a car park. It would be slightly reconfigured. Currently, the access to the car park is in this location here. So in terms of the reconfiguration of it, the access would then be gained from the access road. I believe it's called Freer Road, accessing into the wider development. These are the photos that I mentioned earlier. So this is from Freer Road looking towards the application site with the high street in the background. You can just see the doctor's surgery at the end of the road and the Scout just here. This is taken again from the Freer Road, but looking the opposite direction effectively. So we've got the existing car park just off to the left here, and then the main part of the application site would be from the advertising hoardings up to the garage building at the end here. There's the car park as it is at the moment. The proposed access for the car park would be in this location here, approximately where the black car is. And this photo shows the view into the site with the Scout Hut on the right-hand side, and then you can see the wider development, as I've referred to it in the report, extending from the middle of the photo up towards the rear. In terms of the main issues in relation to the application, the main issue that's been raised by local community is in terms of the loss of the retail units, which were originally approved as part of the 2017 consent. As outlined in the report, these retail units haven't yet been provided, so technically it's not a loss of retail facilities, it's a non-provision of retail facilities. That provision of those retail facilities was not obligated as part of the original consent, so there's no obligation upon the applicants to provide those, no matter what decision is taken this evening. So even if the application were to be refused, we cannot dictate that those retail units are provided on the site. The applicants have provided a retail impact assessment looking at the need for the units, and they've concluded that given the facilities that are in the village at the moment, there isn't a need for retail facilities, and that's why they've come in with the application that's before us this evening. In terms of the impact of the proposal on the local centre, the designated local centre of Fleckney, and the desire to see appropriate uses within that local centre, as you see in the report, the built form of this application is outside of that defined area. So we're not looking at non-local centre uses within the local centre because the houses are proposed outside of the local centre. There is a small amount of additional information on the supplementary list, and there are speakers on the application, Chair, so I'll hand back to you.
Thank you, Mark. As you say, there are some speakers, so we'll start with Mr. William John Packer, please. Would you come to the table? You've got 3 minutes to speak, and you'll be given a 30-second warning. If you just press the button at the bottom of the speaker unit and start when you're ready, please.
Good evening. I've lived in Fleckney for around 75 years. As you can imagine, I've seen the village grow out of all proportion, no more so than in the last few years, due to the building of all new housing developments. One area which has not kept up with the expansion is the provision of facilities, particularly the regeneration of the village centre. The original proposed development addressed the need for more communal areas together with shops, etc., the need for which has not changed. If anything, the need is now greater due to the recent expansion. The area on High Street is the last chance to develop the centre of the village. It is obvious that the council passed the original plans identifying the needs of the village. After discussion with our local district councillor, he informed me that he has businesses interested in the uptake of the shops, and with the village expanded to nearly 6,000 residents, they should thrive. The developer will suggest that the shops and the community facilities are not needed. He is proposing a smaller plaza, a smaller car parking area, and a mission of shops and flats, together with the building of 8 additional houses. This is not for the benefit of the village, but for the developer's margins, and no matter what incentives may be offered in compensation, it will not provide the much needed regeneration of the village centre. Finally, it is the responsibility of village representatives in partnership with the district council to provide the best possible facilities for this village. I've kept this address short and hopefully, I've kept this address short and hopefully precise, highlighting the reasons why this planning permission should be refused. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Packer. Are there any questions from Mr. Packer? No, thank you very much. Our next speaker is Mr. Eddie Bakewell. Is he here? Are you Mr. Eddie Bakewell? You're down to speak. You not want to speak? Yeah, you're down to come next. So all right, if you'd like to come next, Mr. Satchel. Got 3 minutes if you'd like to start whenever you're ready, and I think you know how to use the machine. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the council for allowing me the opportunity to speak today. We respect that there have been objections. At the start of this process, we did try to openly engage with the parish, however the experience was disappointing. The heart of this case is a comparison between what previously could be built and what we are proposing now. The previous development on this site would include a hard landscape plaza with minimal greenery. To the rear of this space, you would have a retail unit with flats above. The retail unit is not large enough to be a convenient supermarket, and market research suggests it would sit empty and vacant. The flats would have outlook over parking and would have no gardens. By contrast, we are proposing to simplify the site with a balanced scheme responding to market conditions. Members will be aware that the existing car park at the front of the site is well used by the community. We are proposing to upgrade this car park with a safe access, EV charging and cycle parking. To replace the plaza, we are proposing a new village community square. This will include bespoke seating and a backdrop of planting, area for market stores and gatherings, and a Christmas tree pit. I'm sure you will agree that fit for purpose car park and village square is a clear public benefit, and this will be gifted to the parish once completed. Flats above a retail unit are not healthy places for families to reside, especially with no gardens. As part of this scheme, we are proposing 2-bed and 3-bed units, which is exactly what people want. This ranges from first-time buyers, young families, and older people wishing to downsize. Each plot also has a spacious garden. It is a fact that planning permissions are later varied, and there are commercial reasons behind this. I'm sure anyone who is in the business of sustainable trading will understand that things change and the planning system has mechanisms to accommodate this. The original wider housing scheme was approved in 2017, and at that time, the developer added the retail unit. Market conditions have since changed, and the simple fact here is a retail unit in this location is unviable. Overall, we are pleased to bring forward a scheme which results in a considerable improvement to the appearance of the route into the village centre. We have residential units which will become homes for people and are healthier to spend time in. The contemporary houses will also provide a modern counterpoint to the estate currently in construction phase. The creation of a village square is a major enhancement over an uncertain plaza area, and a modern car park facility would support existing businesses. All aspects of the scheme are now viable. We really hope that members can resolve to grant planning permission in line with the planning officer's professional recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for the speaker? Yes, Councillor Asher.
Could I just ask what research you did to know that the retail units aren't viable?
Thank you, Councillor. Prior to the application being submitted, our client, we engaged with a number of local estate agents who identified who are well tuned to market conditions, and we also engaged with them to understand the viability of the flats as well. And all of our research, which was put forward at the pre-app stage and formed part of an economic and housing needs assessment and retail assessment, was submitted as part of the application. And furthermore, we also carried out some research which identified extant planning permission for 2 retail units within the local centre, which due to market conditions has not been delivered, and our site falls outside of the actual defined local centre. No problem.
Thank you very much. Any more questions? Okay, thank you. we can't take questions from the audience. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is from the Parish Council, Tina McDonough. I said that properly. You've got 3 minutes. Start when you're ready. Press the button on there.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Parish Council and, more importantly, the residents of Fleckney. I'm sure that councillors have taken the time to fully read our extensive objections to this application. Since 2016, Fleckney, as a designated rural centre, has had approvals for nearly 700 dwellings, meaning in real terms we have grown by almost 25%. We have not seen any increase in facilities or infrastructure provision, particularly within the village centre. It is clear that residents are increasingly having to use unsustainable short car journeys to access services. This is not only damaging in terms of contributing to our carbon footprint, but also has a negative impact, increasing emissions, reducing air quality, and having serious health consequences. During consideration of the original application, the Parish Council consulted extensively with the applicant to ensure a scheme which not only contributed in meeting housing provision, but also ensured that the vitality and viability of the village centre would be safeguarded and offer an improvement in service provision and an attractive space that residents would both want to access and live close to. This application seeks to remove the provision of the retail element and adjacent multifunctional community square. In addition, the proposed parking provision is substantially reduced from 40 spaces to originally passed to 18. The applicant proposes to relocate the community space to the other side of the site entrance on the corner occupied by the former Scout huts. The officer acknowledges that this is far from ideal due to its proximity to adjacent properties and conditions could be imposed in limiting its use. This scheme doesn't represent the flexible community space that the village needs, and we consider that the plan proposed could potentially become an area encouraging antisocial behaviour and negatively impact the residential amenity of adjacent residents. Part of the application site falls within the local centre boundary, and any development should be concentrated on those uses that provide positive benefits for the community. The site is the last remaining area available for village centre uses as set out in our neighbourhood plan, and with recent development we already have a good supply of 2 and 3 bed dwellings with a shortage of single person housing provision. The design of the proposed dwellings is bland and does little to reflect the local vernacular. It is clear that this application is not about meeting housing need, but increasing developers' profits. The loss of the retail provision, parking reduction, flexible community space and single dwellings does not outweigh the benefit doesn't outweigh the benefits of the scheme. I think you know what I mean. And we strongly urge you to refuse the application. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for the speaker? No, thank you very much. Our final speaker is Councillor Bilby, who is the ward member and also called it in. And you've got 5 minutes as ward member. You'd like to start whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Yeah. So I'm not going to read off the paper. You've heard from the residents and the parish council. I did call the application in because I had concerns, not because of the development at the back, and as you know, actually been on the planning council previously, you know, so, and I've got no objections within reason about development, and I know we have to have development, but this is not just a development site for just a house. It runs onto the high street, and as councillors, as you know, we're always trying to promote high street, and so we need to look at the retail side to it. We spoke about this site some years back, and we said that due to the expansion of development, that at some point we would need to expand the high street with more retail. And this is where we are now. So my concern was if these houses were to replace the units, we've got no more space to expand the high street, and that would be a great shame when we're all trying to promote high streets, you know, in villages and towns. You know, when I was former chairman of the council, I did meet many people and many young people who want to set up businesses, and I spoke about these units, and you know that there's grants available for new business owners to set up. I felt that there wasn't enough marketing from the company to promote these units, and I understand with the economic climate at the moment, but it is changing. But the point is that if we have those dwellings put on the front, then we just can't expand. And at some point, we are going to have to expand because the size of the development. So really, I've called it in for all members to look at this and make your own minds up. I'm not going to say any more on that, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Councillor Bilby? No. Thank you, Councillor Bilby. Have you got anything to say now?
Yeah, just one point of clarification to make about the reduction in the car parking. I think the representative of the parish council referred to 48 spaces previously. 40. So that provision was provision for the residential units and the retail units as well. That provision is no longer required. So the spaces that we have on the application now are those which are solely for the village as a whole, rather than the development which the 40 previously allowed for, had to account for.
Thank you, Mark. Now it's open to the members to discuss now. Who's going to go first? Anybody? So James, carry on.
It's just a point of detail from Mark, really. I think I know the answer, but the Scout Hut, there's a new Scout Hut, isn't there, in Fleckney? So that's going to be demolished then, is it? That's part of the old one.
Yes, the new Scout Hut has been provided on the aerial photos. It's in this location here. Yeah, it's just coming through on screen. So the one at the front of the site here would be demolished.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
More comments? Oh, Councillor Moder.
Thanks, Chair. Just a comment really, because I've just noticed in the one of the issues that has been listed that someone said there's a lot of houses in Fleckney already not sold. They're just sitting there to be sold. And interestingly enough, my sister's looking for a house in Fleckney, and she said to me yesterday that there were 76 houses for sale in Fleckney, and we're looking at all the prices, and the lowest was 285,000 and the highest was 625,000, and they ranged from 2-bed to 5-bed. So just putting it out there that I think there was a comment made about houses being required in the area, and there seems to be a surplus of houses in that particular area at this current time.
Anyone else? Councillor Wellborn, thank you.
Yeah, I'm conflicted with this one. I don't agree with the agents about the fact that, you know, flats aren't wanted. I think flats are a great thing to have in the village centre. It encourages, you know, potentially younger residents to live in the centre. I think it is a shame that we've lost retail units on the high street. That being said, we can only deal with what's in front of us at this time. On the face of it, is it a bad scheme? No, I don't think so. I'll wait and see what the rest of the committee think, but slightly conflicted. But I have to say, it is a shame to lose those flats, and it's a shame to lose the shops. So, but I will listen to the debate and come to a decision. Thank you.
Thank you. No one else? Councillor James, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I was interested in the developer's comment about flats not being viable above retail units, because this town, for example, there are several examples of where flats are acceptable. I think there's more to come over retail, and I think the government also is encouraging this sort of thing, really, with existing retail and then vacant spaces above. So I don't quite understand the comment about viability in terms of flats above retail. I think there's many examples of where it does work well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Elliott?
Yes, I mean, in the beginning, the developer must have had a consultation with the village, and I would have thought that they would have brought things what they wanted. But there's so many times we're hearing that the developer promises things in the here and that, and when it comes to it, they don't proceed with it. And I think that's wrong. But I'll listen to what everybody else has got to say.
Thanks, Chair. I was only just going to agree with my colleague there. It would be nice to see a mix of housing, because, you know, we hear it all the time that there's just not enough flats, apartments for that one person, two persons, you know, and they can't afford the 3-4 bedroom houses. So it would be nice if Fleckney was to incorporate a bit of a mix that would reflect the community that wants to live in those areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Adrian wants to say something.
Yeah, it's just a couple of things that I can, Chairman, because obviously I can appreciate the tensions and the competing pressures here, if you like. But just picking up a few things, going back to what Mark said at the beginning of his presentation, and there's some comment there about promises being made. I wouldn't go as far as say promises being made. As Mark said, there's no obligation, there's no local plan requirements, so there's no obligation to provide the retail element, if you like. So it's important to remember that. And in terms of the mix of house types, etc., overall the development, I think Mark will say there is a range of unit types. Confirm that, I suspect. I agree with what's been said. Some of the things, it is a bit of a shame. Some of these things would be nice, but from the officer's point of view, as I said, what's before us is not actually a bad scheme in the officer's judgment, and that's got to decide. I hope. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else? It's quite a difficult one, I think, to decide because of what went before. But Councillor Mahal.
I think I tend to agree with most of my colleagues here in that you know, it could be a better scheme with a mix due to requirements. Yes, it's not a requirement as such, but would have been a better scheme and been like that. But it is a difficult one to decide on.
Yeah, I think it's very difficult to find anything to refuse it on because, as Mark says in his report, it wasn't a condition of the wider development to provide the units. It was just something that was suggested by the developers, and now they've come back with a different scheme on that particular spot, and they're offering quite a lot of what they offered before. The only thing they're not offering is the shops and the smaller units, but it's very difficult that this doesn't it ticks as many boxes as possible, but having raised the people, the residents' hopes, it's very difficult for them to accept that the developer has changed his mind. So, yes, Mr. Pelton wants a word now.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, again, just picking up on some of the points that have been made, and if it may assist committee, Mr. Palmer, the agent, did make a perfectly valid point that developments can change over the lifetime of a development. Applications like this are routinely made, and the motivations and drivers behind that are quite often changing economic conditions, changing market forces, which means that perhaps what was originally proposed is no longer realistic or viable to achieve. And as a result, an amended scheme has been proposed to the council, as is the case here. It is a routine process that developers can utilise, and it's just to confirm, you know, members can only decide what's before you. as Mark and Adrian have both said, there is no obligation to deliver those shops. I accept that the community do have aspirations for them, but unfortunately, you know, the developer isn't going to deliver something that won't be sold or occupied equally. Thank you, Chair.
James, looking at the committee, can I have a proposal of anything?
Chair, could I just
I'm
come
sorry.
in quickly?
Yeah.
It's going back to a comment that was made by one of the speakers regarding the use of the community plaza area. I refer in the report to a condition to control its use. I've just noticed in the list of conditions that that's missing. So if members were minded to approve it, then that would be something for members to consider.
So what would you suggest?
It would be a restriction on hours, probably no later than 9:30, and with no amplified music after 8 o'clock, I would suggest.
So I think the resident who lives next door was concerned.
Yes.
That antisocial behaviour and noise from that area, weren't they?
Yes.
So it would,
Yeah.
if we so decided, it would be very useful to put that on. So
Yeah.
councillor, sorry, I'm sorry, councillor Knight.
Yeah, just one question. There's no obligation to provide retail. Is there any stipulation or obligation to build certain types of housing within an area?
As a district, we do have, it's wider than the district, the housing market area. We have a housing mix we look at. District wide, we look to, given the nature of the district and what we have already in the current stock, there is a weighting towards smaller houses. So 2-3 bed is probably where the greater need is within the district. And then obviously the scheme before us this evening is for full 2-bed and 4 3-bed properties. So it does meet that need that we have in the district. But in terms of settlement specific targets, then we don't have that.
Mark. Councillor Wellbalanced.
Yeah,
To say something.
only to say that I will propose propose approval, taking into account Mark's point about hours being used for the communal space. Not entirely happy, but I don't think there's anything here we can really refuse on. So,
Yeah, got a seconder there. Councillor Mahal, second. Right, so we've got a proposer and a seconder to approve this application. Can I see a show of hands for approval, please? That's 5. All those against? 4. Okay, that application is carried. Thank you very much. Let me audience lead. The next application is on page 35 of your papers. Land at 623 and 625 Uppingham Road. Demolition of 2 existing dwellings and the erection of 2 replacement dwellings. Mark Patterson is going to present this one for us. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Chair. This is an application for the erection of 2 dwellings following the already commenced demolition of the properties. We'll see evidence of that as we move through the presentation. In terms of the application site, this is the application site. So you've got Uppingham Road, the A47 running east to west through the middle of the site. The district boundary with the City Council runs along here. I mean, around this side. So the majority of the built form that you see in this image is within the City Council area. The application site itself is located within an area defined as a green wedge as part of policy GD7 of the local plan. This is the aerial photo of the site. So yeah, again, you can see the majority of the built form, particularly that on the western side of the site, is within Leicester City. And you have a ribbon of development here along the A47, which is within the district. And then you've just got the edges of Thurnby coming into the bottom of the screen just here. As a point of context for where we are, you've got the A47 and Station Road junction just to the side of the site here, and then Coles Nursery in this location here. So these are the proposed plans of the dwellings to be erected. There'd be a semi-detached property with accommodation within the roof space. The design of the scheme, onto the next slide, is identical to one previously approved. So the image on your left of the screen is the current scheme before us this evening. The image on the right is previous approval. That previous approval was for the erection of extensions to the rear of the existing properties. Work on that was underway when the properties were demolished as part of that work, hence why we have the application before us now for the erection of the two new dwellings. The only difference between the approved scheme and what's before us this evening is that the approved scheme had the existing chimneys located. You can just see them on the screen here. They were existing chimneys on the original cottages, and they're not included on the proposed drawings. Let's quickly have a look at some photos of the site. You can see the slide before us now clearly shows the demolition which has happened on site. You can see the original cottages here and here. The bottom right image shows the green wedge beyond the site. These conifer trees here are shown as being removed as part of the landscape scheme submitted. This wall here is in situ at the moment, and you'll see there's a condition requiring further details of the treatment of that wall to be submitted prior to any further work being carried out, particularly in light of its appearance at the moment. In terms of longer distance views, you can see the top image here is the view as you're going away from Thurnby towards Leicester City. You can see the demolished building in this location and the wall that we saw earlier running along here. And you see it's exposed block work, so we see it's quite key to get the detail of that resolved. And then the bottom image is the view effectively as you're coming into the district. So this is the first thing that you see as you come into the district at the moment from Leicester. So hence why we're keen to get the site sorted. In terms of the conditions, there's one condition 8. Having spoken with the officer this afternoon, I propose to amend condition 8 if members are happy with the proposal. So condition 8 required the removal of the mobile home on site. You can just about make it out. It's just in this location here. And it's not actually a mobile home. It's a touring caravan, which as a dwelling, the occupiers of the dwelling could quite lawfully store their touring caravan if they were to have one on the site. And so I've recommended the amendment of condition 8 to read: within 1 week of the first occupation of either of the dwellings hereby approved, the residential use of the caravan on site shall be permanently ceased. So the reason for the condition is outlined in the report. The change in the wording retains the ethos and the reason for the condition, but it just reflects the reality of the situation. But it's not a mobile home, but it's a touring caravan. On that, Chair, I'll hand back to you.
Thank you, Mark. This is in my ward, and it's, as you can see, it's complete eyesore. it's needed sorting out for quite a long time. The reason it's come to the planning committee is because it's in the green wedge, and the green wedge doesn't allow either new homes or replacement homes to be built. And I think it's a very good report from the officer discussing the pros and cons of this. So I'll wait and see what everyone else thinks, but we will be glad to get it sorted out. Councillor Asher, please.
And to me, it looks like it needs doing. It's an eyesore, like you say. They're not putting anything bigger than what they'd already put in for and what was there before. So I can't see that it would be an issue.
Thank you. Councillor Elliott, it's in your ward as well.
It is, yes, and it's, everybody's commenting what an eyesore it is, and I think the sooner it's sorted out, the better.
Anyone else got any comments? And then I'm happy to propose this. Councillor Wellban.
That's, I can propose, but happy to second if you're proposing, Chair.
I'll propose. Councillor James, sorry, I beg your pardon.
Yeah, it's okay, Chair. No, I just, yeah, it's an interesting scheme. It's a good scheme. It's just a comment really, is that we've got environmental health here, saying no objections from a noise perspective. Should we not be looking, given the behaviour of the water companies, which is all very topical, isn't it? Have some reports from time to time from environmental health on what's happening to our rivers, which surely is an environmental health matter. It's just a comment I want to make. Maybe I don't even need a reply to that, Chair. Thank you.
Unless one of the officers wants to
Right.
reply. Yeah, it's not part of this application.
Oh, I just wondered why environmental health had popped up there.
Oh.
Environmental health are routinely consulted on planning applications. Ordinarily, they comment on things like contaminated land, noise issues. River quality isn't an environmental health issue. It would be more from the Environment Agency rather than environmental health, our in-house department.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mark.
Councillor James, Councillor Elliott.
It's a second on that.
Second. Councillor Wellban, second. I propose. So if nobody's got anything else to say, we'll vote on this. All in favour? Thank you very much. That's unanimous. That application is carried. Approved. Right. The next one is at Kibworth. So Councillor Wellban would like to leave the room. Thank you very much. All right, the next application can be found on page 46 of your papers. It's an old residential home, 12 Fleckney Road, Kibworth, the erection of a two-storey rear extension and first floor side extension. And Adrian is going to present this one. Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you, Chairman. We did a site visit to this, the members are available yesterday, so thank you for that as well. Just outside the village centre, effectively in the heart of Kibworth. This is extensions to the residential home known as Kibworth Knoll. You can see there the site here, looking at the plan, it's just off to the right hand side as you look at the village centre, onto Fleckney Road coming out of High Street. I think there's another overhead that shows the extensions. I'll just flick to that. So what we've got to residential home, hopefully the cursor showing up, but at the bottom of the plan, you've got a two-storey extension. And on the side here, you have a first floor extension. So there's an existing footprint in this area and there's a first floor to be built across over that. The additional number of rooms is actually 9 rooms in addition. Due to the reconfiguration, etc., the 10 rooms are proposed. 1 existing room goes as a result of the development. There's a lot of representation been received. The 2 principal issues I would suggest are impacts on neighbouring amenity and access and parking arrangements. Just go back to the layout plan here. The existing car park, you'll see the this proposal actually seeks to formalise the layout, and I think it's 17 spaces to be provided. As it stands at the moment, it's available but not delineated, if you like. And we saw that on the site visit yesterday. You will have seen from the report there's quite a lot of supplementary supporting information. There has been a to and fro with the higher authority requiring more information, and that came through effectively through a parking survey and demand assessment, which I think the applicant's speaking, so they can explain that. But the evidence they've submitted and the higher authority are satisfied with is that this won't increase car parking demand. This layout can cater for what the development will generate, if you like. In terms of the neighbour impact, it's particularly close to Arlington number 4, Cedar Court, and we had a look around there. If I look on the overhead I've got at the moment, because showing up this on the left hand side as I'm looking at it, this area here will be filled by the extension, and you can see the neighbouring property actually goes very close to the boundary. There's a hedge. You'll see within the report the hedge is likely to be removed as a part of the development, replaced with a fence. I think that there's some more photos that do show this neighbouring property does actually have ground floor windows. We think that's probably serving a bedroom. But as you've seen within the report, the outlook from that property already is almost directly into this boundary treatment. And so whilst the development is coming closer, it doesn't exacerbate that really existing situation, which isn't an ideal outlook in any event. On the right hand side here, actually, you just see the ground floor, and the proposal would build above that. And you'll have seen in the elevation plans, it's relatively low profile roof compared to the very front, the original part of the property, and it's in keeping with the remainder of the property to the rear, which has been a later addition, I would suggest. So this photograph, actually, on the right hand side, as I look at it, is looking from Cedar Court, and the elevations at the bottom would show, in effect, behind Cedar Court. This was the proposed plan showing the 2-storey extension, actually the first floor to the side there. The bottom, the left hand side photos of that neighbouring property. And I think in later photo that shows, you can see here, it's evident how close that neighbouring Cedar Court property is to the boundary. I think there may be a later photo that possibly shows windows on there. I'll see if it comes up later. So I think Nicola's pointed out to me, thank you. Nicola helped yesterday. I managed to get photos. There are windows on that neighbouring property, you can see. But this already got this fairly poor outlook, and whilst the extension is coming closer, we don't feel it would make like the existing situation any different to one refusal. I'm just going back up there. So we did go next door as well to a property that's a cat hotel, cattery, and other activities in the garden there, which is quite an oasis of calm within the village. And the extension will go close to that property. You can just see in the photograph here behind the cattery. But you'll have seen within the report that this is a relatively expansive property, notwithstanding part of the extension are quite close and quite high. There'll be still a large area of remaining garden. And there was another property we picked up on site. I'm not sure if I've got a photograph of that, but if I go back to the layout plan, there's a residential property here just to the left hand side as I'm looking at the photograph that had quite a tight, constrained rear garden. And undoubtedly the outlook from the bedrooms, for example, first floor bedrooms of this property will alter, but the proposal doesn't meet the relevant separation guidelines. So we can't evidence that that would cause any harm to that property. And members will also have seen from the report that the council in effect has approved this development. I think it was back in 2017. So we've previously been satisfied as a planning authority with the physical relationship. That said, the officers have had a look at again, indeed committee has decided, and we'll have a discussion later. We found the design mitigates the impacts. Some of the outlooks are quite unusual from the neighbouring properties, but we don't identify what will cause harm sufficient to conflict with the local plan. We find the car parking, the evidence has come forward with it. You know, I think councillors will know how busy Fleckney Road is. That's well known locally. The highway authority are satisfied there's off-site or off-highway provision here being made, and there's no high objection. So on those matters, Chairman, we therefore conclude and recommend the approval of permission. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. There's one speaker on this application. Karen Brightman, please, would you like to come to the table? You've got 3 minutes. Just press the button at the bottom there and start whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, officer, for the committee. I think
It's not come on. Right, that's it. Well,
Second go, Lucky. Good evening. I thank your officer for the committee report, which sensibly recommends planning permission is granted. I also draw attention to the previous duplicate planning application, which was approved in March 2018. There have been no material changes since this consent was given. With any decision, it is important to consider the planning balance, and in this case, there are many positives which weigh in favour of the scheme. The care home to be extended lies within Kibworth Beecham, a sustainable settlement as defined by the development plan. It is an ideal location for later living, given nearby facilities and easy access for visitors and staff. It provides specialist housing, which is fully supported by Policy H4 and which helps meet the growing need for this type of accommodation. The home already has a very long waiting list. The proposal is a high quality design with no visual impact and an internal layout suitable for later living. Neighbours have raised concerns relating to impact on their amenity. We reassure councillors that the relationships with the closest properties are all within the parameters set out within the council's own planning guidance. The rear elevations of Fleckney Road properties are in excess of 21 metres away from the proposed extensions, meaning that there would be no loss of privacy or light, and there are no overlooking windows close enough to impact these properties. There is a ground floor bedroom at 4 Cedar Close next to the boundary. However, the northern elevation to number 4 does not contain any primary windows, only secondary ones. The extension lies north where the existing hedge already provides shade. There are no overlooking windows and there would be no material change causing a loss of amenity. We understand concerns have been expressed about access and parking. Additional information supplied demonstrates that the access currently operates safely and that the additional rooms would have limited bearing on this. The fact that safe and suitable access can be provided is not disputed by the Highway Authority. The parking survey shows a peak existing accumulation of 13 vehicles and a predicted accumulation of 16.
30 seconds.
The Highway Authority is fully supportive of the scheme and it welcomes the plans to mark out the car park layout. Our client is an established provider and has purchased the site recently. He intends to improve and develop it in a neighbourly way. This involves the removal of minimal vegetation, only hedging to accommodate the building and the parking, and the provision of new or repaired fencing to those boundaries he controls. As your officer concludes, there are many factors which weigh in favour of the scheme. There are no technical constraints and there is no harm sufficient to outweigh the benefits. Accordingly, planning permission should be granted.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for the speaker, please? No. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right, that's our only speaker. Has Adrian got anything to say before we open up?
No, I just reiterate, thank you for the site visit, allowing that and those links that are about 8 minutes to take on.
Thank you very much. Anyone got any comments to start with? Okay, Councillor James, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I was, initially concerned about the car parking. We did the site visit, and I think we've just heard that the car park will be marked out because I think that will give a greater degree of control. But also, we did the visit on Monday, and there was plenty of spare car parking spaces. So my concerns about the actual car parking are not at the level they were before. And I think to mark it out would be a big help too, to better control it. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor James, Councillor Asher.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor James. I was a bit worried when I read the report about the car parking and also the traffic on the road has been mentioned. But I actually don't think this would affect traffic on the road really, because there only be a certain amount of people, you know, the old people don't drive, so it's just really the staff. And I can't see that that will cause so much. I mean, it's a bad road anyway, but this isn't going to make that much difference. I don't think. My main concern is how close it is to the neighbouring houses, but if it complies, then I can't see how we can really turn it down.
Thank you, Councillor Asher. Councillor Elliott.
Yes, I was a little concerned. I was on the site visit yesterday, a little concerned about the parking and the road, but I think all in all, I'm happy to propose this. Move it forward.
Councillor Elliott, have I got a seconder anywhere? Councillor Worrell, do you want to say anything or just second? Okay. Any further comments? I propose and a seconder to approve this application. Can I have a show of hands, please? All in favour? Thank you, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Yes, could someone get Councillor Wellbank back again? Thank you, Councillor Effer.
I wasn't sure.
That's okay. All right. Now we've got Councillor Wellbank back again. We'll carry on with our applications. We're on page 62 now, which is Land at Airfield Farm, Leicester Road, Market Harborough. Nicola Perry is going to present this one. Thank you, Nicola.
Thank you, Councillor Burrell. Good evening, members. This will be the first of 3 applications that you're about to consider tonight, all affecting land at Airfield Farm, which is the top section of the North West Market Harborough Strategic Development Area, which was originally granted consent back in 2016. So the first application before you tonight relates to an application from Taylor Wimpey. They were granted reserve matters for 479 dwellings back in 2019. We'll just see some aerial photographs just to obviously get this into context of where we are. So obviously got Market Harbour down here, the Grand Union Canal running up the side here. We've got the Harbour Innovation Centre here, the Airfield Farm Business Park, and this is what's known as the Market Harbour Strategic Development Area, which I'm just circling for you now. So this is the overall plan, obviously, of the land at Airfield Farm, and the 2 red outlines are the areas that are currently being developed by Taylor Wimpey. The application seeks to vary the plans approved under the reserve matters, and section 3 of the report outlines the changes proposed. One thing to note, the change from the Colton to the Braxton House type has already been approved, so that's not up for discussion tonight. The amendments put forward allow the development to satisfy the latest building regulations. Building regulations changed recently this year, which has resulted in additional efficiencies that are required for new buildings that are being built. There's also new climate change and emission targets that developers have to be built towards, and obviously the house designs themselves that are changing obviously is also to meet current customer demands for what they expect from their houses. The amendments continue to achieve the design standards and visual amenities as originally envisaged in both the outline and the reserve matters approval, and the application is recommended for approval. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Nicola. This is a fairly straightforward one. I think it's just housekeeping really on the part of the developers. We often have these change of plans and change of house types. So has anyone got anything to say about it? No, I'm happy to propose it if I've got a seconder. Councillor Murder to second.
Yeah, happy to second, Chair.
So I've got a proposer and a seconder. All those in favour of approving this application, please show. Thank you very much. That's unanimous. That application is approved. The next application is on page 72, which is also land at Airfield Farm. Nicola is going to present this one for you.
Yes, so again, same site that we've just been looking at, but we're now going to the other house builder, William Davis. So the William Davis areas of land are those indicated in red below. This first of the two applications from William Davis relates to phase 4, which is in this area up here. You'll see it's now been subdivided into phase 4 and phase 6, but phase 4 has had reserve matters approval. We're now looking purely at phase 6, hence why you've got a smaller red line. Again, the same reasons as I've just expressed previously, again, due to building regulation changes, climate change, emission target changes and customer demand changes, house types are being proposed to be changed. No real material considerations, Chair, recommended for approval. Thank you.
Supplementary list of a couple of corrections. It's similar to the other one, just change of house types and substitutions on the late list. The supplementary list, there are a couple of conditions to be corrected and additions to conditions 4. Apart from that, I think unless anyone's got anything to say about it, I'm happy to propose it again. If anyone wants to second it. Councillor Moder.
Happy to second again, Chair.
Thank you very much. To be proposed and seconded to accept this application. Can I have a show of hands, please? Thank you very much. That's unanimous and that application is approved. And again, we're back to Airfield Farm, page 82. Nicola is going to present this one too.
Thank you. Again, we're back to William Davis, and this time we're looking at phase 5, which I'm circling here for you. Again, same thing. They want to obviously make some changes to the house types. No real changes in terms of the overall design vision that was originally anticipated, and therefore again is recommended for approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicola. Similar again. And on the supplementary list are a couple of corrections to conditions that I draw your attention to. Has anyone got any comments on this one? Are you happy for me to propose this? Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Moder again. I've got a proposer and seconder to accept this application. Can I have a show of hands, please? Thank you. That's all in favour, unanimous. That application is approved. Now we're going to Hollerton, page 90 of your papers. That's all right. Beg your pardon. Adrian wants to say something.
Yeah, just an aside, an interjection there, but I just noticed, just thank Nicola, there's 4 applications we've just made there, which are categorised as major applications, and then within time or an agreed time, to use the planning jargon. For those of us that follow the performance of the department, it's not been good. You'll know that from the bedtime system. What Nicola's done there and the committee is quite good. It makes quite a bit of difference. So I just want to acknowledge Nicola's work on those 4 applications.
Thanks, Adrian. Well done, Nicola. Can we go to Hollerton now? Right, we're going to Hollerton. Page 90, land south of Craigno Road, Hollerton. Retrospective planning for 3 glamping units. The application number is 22/01793/FUL, and Nicola is presenting this one as well. Thank you, Nicola.
Thank you very much. First thing today is just to refer you to the supplementary list. Obviously, there's quite a few additional information on there. I think the most important one probably to point out is that the original application was called in by Councillor Rickman, but as you see, having seen the report and spoken to the parish council, he withdrew his call in last Monday, but unfortunately it was too late because obviously it had been published on the agenda at that point. So just to make clear that Councillor Rickman has now removed his call in following conversations he's had with the parish council and having read the report and the conditions that are contained within the report, and obviously updated on the supplementary paper that's before you. So the site forms a part of it. The extensive grounds, the south of Hallerton Grange, are listed 2-star listed building. You can see all the listed buildings within the vicinity of the site are highlighted yellow, so you can see, and those that know Hallerton quite well, it has got a very rich heritage in terms of listed buildings. The application site is outlined in red before you. As the proposal description says, it's retrospective planning permission for 3 glamping units that have been situated within the wood. I'm just pointing out the woodland here to you now. In terms of the glamping units themselves, obviously those members that went on the site yesterday obviously would have seen these in situ, but I've also provided some photographs for you here, and there's quite a lot of photographs within the report itself. So 2 of the 3 glamping units are like pod-like structures with a canvas cover. The pods have no footings and they stand on telescopic legs. And then there's a globe unit, which you can just see in the bottom corner here, which is like a tree tent, which is suspended up in the trees, which you can see, which I'm just circling here for you. The glamping units are suitable for 2, 3 and 4 persons respectively. The one that's suitable for 4 persons is more suitable for a family because, again, members that went inside that unit yesterday, it's got a double bed and some bunk beds for children. The principle of development is supported by local plan policies GD3 and RT4 and neighbourhood plan policies BE2 and BE5. The National Planning Policy Framework also supports small-scale tourism developments within the countryside. Paragraph 84 is the relevant reference point. As you will have seen from the report, concerns have been expressed about the impact of the development upon ecological interests, heritage assets, light pollution, noise pollution and highway safety. Section 6 of the report addresses these concerns and officers conclude, taking into account the supporting information provided by the applicant and comments from consultees, that subject to conditions which focus particularly on lighting and noise, and again I'd refer you to the supplementary paper, the application is recommended for approval. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Nicola. Yeah, this was subject to a very interesting site visit yesterday. I think we all enjoyed climbing up and down the stairs and the steps. There's no speaker on this, so I'll open it up to the committee. Councillor Elliott.
Yes, I was on the site visit yesterday and it was very interesting, as you say. And I couldn't see a lot wrong with it. Lighting, I can't see there's going to be much problem with lighting, surely. And I think everything else is taken into account, so I can't see anything wrong with it, as I will listen to what everybody else has got to say.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott. Councillor Asher.
Yeah, with the conditions that have been put in and the changes that they're going to make, I think it's quite a nice little addition. And with there only being 3 units that are hidden in the woods, I can't see any problem with it.
Thank you. Any other comments? Anyone like to make a recommendation, a proposal?
I'll propose it.
Thank you, Councillor Asher. Anyone seconded? Councillor?
Happy to second.
Councillor Asher has proposed and Councillor Elliott has seconded approval of this application. And I think the fact that Councillor Rickman has actually withdrawn his call-in gives us a steer there. So all in favour of approving this application, can you please show? Thank you. That's unanimous. That application is approved. Right, the next application is on page 120 of your papers at East Lampton. It's application reference 23/00785/FUL, Astley Grange Farm, Back Lane, East Lampton. Change of use of an agricultural building to 4 dwellings. And Nicola's presenting this one again. Thank you.
Okay, so the site relates to an agricultural building located within Ashley Grange Farm, which is in the village of East Lampton. So just off the map here on the western side, for those that know, is Melton Road. And then this is known, where I'm following my cursor, hopefully you can see it, is Back Lane. And then to the north of my cursor is the main sort of nucleus of East Lampton village. And then you've got a few linear properties here, which I'm just pointing out to you. The yellow highlight obviously indicates that the site, or that is it what properties or land is within the conservation area of East Lampton, and you'll just see that a little section of the access road leading to the building we're about to talk about is within the conservation area. So this is an aerial photograph of the site in question, and this is the building that we're looking at just here. Again, there's some photographs of the building within your committee reports. As the description suggests, obviously the proposal seeks to convert the building into 4 dwellings. So this is the plan that's been submitted before us. You can see the floor plan here, and you can see the 4 units. Which I'm just pointing out to you, 1, 2, 3 and 4. They've all got their own separate gardens, and they've also got their own parking spaces, 2 parking spaces each. In terms of the units themselves, 3 of the units will contain 3 bedrooms and 1 of the units will contain 2 bedrooms. Again, as you would have read from the report, the proposal conflicts with the development plan, notably GD2 and GD4. and H2 and E2 is the East Langton Neighbourhood Plan. However, the applicant has a fallback position for residential development of the site, and this relates to the previous Class Q grant of prior approval for the conversion of the building into 4 dwellings. The current application is identical to that Class Q approval. It has been established in case law that a fallback position is an important material consideration that decision makers have to take into account. A significant weight is given to this material consideration, which indicates the application should be approved. Thank you, Chair.
There are no speakers on this, so I'll open it up to the committee. Does anyone want to go first? And it's quite an interesting one, this. We've had some before where Class Q has been approved and then they've come in for full planning applications with a full planning application, and occasionally we've refused them and then lost at appeal. So it's quite a difficult one to get your head round. So Councillor Moder, you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just shaking my head because I remember them clearly. I think there was one in Stoughton, wasn't there? Yeah. It's frustrating, but it is as it is. Yeah, I'll just wait to hear what others got to say.
Has anyone got anything to say about this one? I mean, they've already got permission for exactly the same thing as a Class Q. And this one actually allows the officers to put a few more slightly more stringent conditions on. So I think that's one benefit of it. Councillor Wellborn?
Yeah, just to say this is in my ward. I don't even got much choice here, do we, to be honest with this one. It's not an ideal situation, but there we go. We are where we are, I think. Yeah.
Proposed.
Well, I'll propose, yeah.
So that's proposed by Councillor Wellborn and seconded by Councillor Moder that we approve this application. Can I have a show of hands, please? All those in favour? Thank you. That's unanimous. That application is approved. Right, now we're going to Great Bowden, page 140 of your papers. Application reference 23/00787/FUL 85 Main Street, Great Bowden. Part single and part 2-storey front and side extensions. Nicola's presenting this one. Thank you, Nicola.
Thank you. Members will recall we visited the site yesterday. So the site consists of a 2-storey rendered and plain clay tile cottage. I'll see a photograph of this in a minute, which is at 90 degrees to the south side of Main Street. There is an attached converted outbuilding, which I'm just circling for you now, and then a private garden to the rear and to the side here, which contains several mature trees, which you'll see in a second on this aerial photograph. I'm just pointing these out to you here. And then to the rear of the site here is number 85A Main Street. And again, you'll recall that we went and visited this property yesterday. We actually went inside the property and particularly looked at inside the kitchen where there's some roof lights along this elevation here. And then we also walked around the back of the property to see the immediate private garden area where they've got seating, the patio chairs outside. So as has been mentioned, the application proposes a part single, part 2-storey front, side and rear extensions, including the addition of some cladding. So this is the site location plan. So you can see this is where the extension is proposed here, and you can just make out the trees that have been circled, obviously on this site plan before you. In order to proceed with the extension itself, the existing outbuilding is going to be demolished, and you can just make out the green dashed line that shows that on this site plan before you. So here's some elevations, so you can see what's been proposed here. You've got the 2-storey side extension, got a Juliet balcony to the rear of the property here, a single side extension, which then also wraps around at the front as well. And again, you can see where it's got the proposed northwest elevation. That's the view that you'd see from Main Street. The extension is judged to be in keeping with the scale and design of the existing property, and is also judged to preserve the character and appearance of the conservation area. So I'm just going to get some more photographs for you here. So again, you can see the proposed outbuilding here, which is to be demolished. You can see the extension, which is going to come to the side down here. Again, this is the outbuilding in question to be demolished. This is the rear garden, and you can see the trees. Again, you'll note from the supplementary paper that I've clarified, hopefully for members that went on site yesterday, which trees are to be removed and which ones are to be retained. So the 2 lime trees that I'm circling here for you, they will be pollarded to 3 metres above ground level, and the horse chestnut tree, which is diseased, will have to come out. There was a query over whether this tree here, the yew tree, would have to come out. The tree survey recommended it be removed, but there's no arboricultural reason for it for doing so. And when we queried with the applicants on site, would they be happy to keep that? They said they would be. So that tree there will be staying. And then these are the roof lights that I was just mentioning, and obviously from the neighbouring property that you can see in the roof of the neighbouring property here. This is a view taken earlier in the year. So you can see, obviously, again from Main Street, views the property and the outbuilding. And again, you can just make out some of those roof lights on the neighbouring property just there. This access leads to that neighbouring property. This is the access leading to that neighbouring property here, and you can just make out through the trees the application site. And then the bottom photo is the immediate garden area that I was referring to earlier. So officers has considered the concerns raised by the neighbouring property, which have been outlined to you in the report, particularly with regard to loss of privacy, and have concluded that the proposal, due to its positioning away from those roof lights, will not give rise to any adverse neighbouring amenity impacts. Again, as I referred to, obviously, in the supplementary paper about the tree survey has been submitted, and we've clarified what trees are going to be coming out. The extension doesn't result in any additional bedrooms. It will still remain a 4-bedroom property, and it doesn't significantly affect the existing parking arrangements as a result of the extension, so it's still possible to park 3 vehicles off the road. It is recognised the property lies adjacent to Main Street, which we saw yesterday does at times can become congested due to the parked cars on the opposite side of Main Street. And because of the limited visibility this creates for drivers coming up and down that particular section of the road. And as such, a construction management plan has been suggested as part of the supplementary paper, which will require details of where construction vehicles will park during the course of the development, and also construction hours is also suggested. In light of the conditions that have been outlined and taking everything into account, the application is recommended for approval. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Nicola. We have one speaker on this application, Mr. Harry Fowler. Here, if you like to sit down and switch on the microphone and start when you're ready. You've got 3 minutes.
Everyone, thank you for your time. By way of introduction, I'm Harry Fowler from Landmark Planning, representing Mr. and Mrs. Worrell, who live at number 85A, which you visited. As mentioned by Nicola, their primary concern there relates to amenity, specifically the roof lights and potential overlooking from that. Now, if you look at page 145, the applicant's architect, and I agree it's a good idea, he's drawn a sort of line of sight drawing, which shows a line of sight from the first floor Juliet balcony, and it shows it doesn't look too deeply into the property. I just want to draw your attention, I was looking at it and it's not drawn to any particular scale. So I was just trying to work out its accuracy essentially. And speaking with the applicant and looking at some previous plans, I have a few concerns about the height of the objector's dwelling. It's shown it appears to be about an extra ½ metre high in comparison to a plan which was submitted back in 2015, which relates to the approval of the roof lights in question. Now, I have concerns that the inaccuracies of the drawing essentially could allow us to draw false conclusions about the impact of it. So essentially, I believe it should be about ½ metre down, which would significantly increase the depth of view from the Juliet balcony into Mr. and Mrs. Worrell's property. The other point I wanted to raise was just in relation to overbearing in relation to the proposed property. Just wanted to draw your attention to page 8 of the Development Management SPD, which requires, to quote, a minimum distance of 14 metres between a blank elevation and an elevation containing a principal window. I believe this applies in this instance. The proposed dwelling has a principal window. It's marked on the plans, I believe, as a garden room, but essentially functions as a living room. And it's located about 9.5 metres away from the blank elevation of Mr. and Mrs. Worrell's property. I appreciate that this particular piece of guidance does have some leverage on it, and it notes that one potential consideration is orientation. Now, number 85A is to the south of the proposed dwelling, which I would, if anything, I think would have a bigger impact on loss of light on the proposed dwelling. So primary concern is privacy, but also overbearing, I think, should be given some consideration in this instance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for our speaker? No, thank you very much. Have you got anything to comment on that, Nicola? No, thank you. It's open to the committee. We went on a site visit yesterday, which was very interesting. So, Councillor Moder.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, the site visit was definitely worth going on because it doesn't do it justice actually looking at it on paper, because when you're there are no indications, or I didn't feel there were any of any overbearingness or loss of privacy. And we did walk around the whole site, the garden in the applicant's garden, and also 85A next door. We went inside and we looked at the roof lights, and they're slanted upwards, so you couldn't even look out if you wanted to from inside the neighbour's property. And the only person, or the only way anyone would see anything from the inside would be on a drone, or if they were up there looking down. I just didn't feel that there was any privacy issues, but I don't know what others have to say, but thank you.
Councillor Escher.
Yeah, I agree with that. And going on the site visit, I don't think it would cause that much impact on the neighbouring properties. There's already a building there which is quite high up, but it's the old building. I think it'll actually make the property look better. And with the trees mitigating it as well, I don't think it will have any overbearing effect on anybody.
Thank you. Councillor Elliott, you'll go.
Yeah, I just agree with my two colleagues here. I couldn't see that there was a great deal of to worry about. I'll just see what everybody else has got to say.
Anyone else got any comments? No. Well, I agree with the members that it was quite unlikely that the extension will cause too much of a privacy issue to the single-storey dwelling, and I think there's quite a lot of boundary treatment as well, especially towards the bottom of the garden where the little private seating area is in 85A, and I think that is quite well covered with trees and things. So I suspect that won't cause too much of a problem either. So has anyone got a proposal for me? Councillor Moder?
Happy to propose.
Thank you very much. A seconder, Councillor Escher? Yes, so we've got a proposer and a seconder to approve this application. Can I have a show of hands, please? Thank you. That's unanimous. That application is approved. Thank you, everyone. Now we go to our final application at Sutton in the Elms, page 148 of your papers. Application number 23/00935/BAC. Adrian is presenting this one.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. So it's an application to vary conditions. Members will have seen from the report, there's a fairly lengthy and complex planning history in connection with this. The site itself is at the end, effectively, the cul-de-sac that is Sutton in the Elms, so a bit further out the linear settlement there. So it's to the northwest, and it's actually got an authorised lawful use as a go-karting track. Originally, back in 2009, the planning permission was granted for holiday lodges at the site, and there's been subsequent renewals, variations that's set out in the committee report that continues that tourism type use. That includes, for example, a cafe shop, and you'll see there's been a variation to relax how that could be used and occupied. That's hopefully set out in the report, including you'll have seen a little bit of an appendix at the back that shows some of the consents previously. So the proposal is to vary the conditions, and the effect of that really is to use the approved holiday lodges, not as holiday lodges, actually, not for tourists, but as permanent sole residential units. So that's the effect if approved and the variation of the conditions. It also in effect allows for additional 8 units instead of motorhome plots on the site. And the overall effect of that I would describe as a retirement village, and I think it's described as being for occupiers aged over 50 years. So the physical details in terms of the access layout, parking, drainage are as previously approved for the tourism type development. Clearly the character and the actual use would change if the conditions are varied because it becomes a residential use. You've seen there's significant interest. I appreciate we're fairly late on in the meeting, so I was grateful for people's patience waiting for this item to come forward. So we've had 22 letters of objection from 19 addresses, 1 letter of support. The parish object. I suspect the parish probably got a representative tonight. There are no technical objections in terms of highways, drainage, matters such as biodiversity gain, ecology, which are in the report, but in the event there are need to be resolved, they could probably be addressed by way of conditions, so they're not flagged up as reasons to refuse this application. But members will be aware when we get to it, there are other concerns leading to those recommendation to refuse. This is a plan that's within the report. There's not a great no plans to show for this because it's an application to vary conditions. This is, you'd have to take this as an illustrative plan, and that's how it's effectively referred to in the report. It's come from a different application. It's indicative. It shows the context really that the application site. And this is as approved for the layout of holiday lodges. So that's where the site is. Members will be, I think, familiar with the fact that nearby developments that have been approved and taken place. This is the neighbourhood plan allocated employment site, so that's not been built out yet, but that will take place, I expect. And there's a nearby appeal that was allowed. So I don't think the development was started yet, no, it won't done, but there's a nearby appeal allowed. I think most people are familiar with that was allowed effectively because of material consideration of self-build. So that's plan is, it's not part of the submission. I'm just using that and it's within the report just to give some context of the site. With a variation of condition, you don't have much detail in terms of further plans. It's the various conditions referred to often as a section 73. You'll see there's additional information on the supplementary list in terms of recent case law, for example, in terms of the applicant's agent has given his view on the report today, and that's repeated in the supplementary papers. And there's some additional information on 106, I think it is. However, the recommendation of refusal is on the basis that if the variation does go ahead, and there's actually 4 reasons for refusal. One is you have a very distinct change from the proposal when it was allowed as a holiday use, and you're flipping over to residential use. That's a completely different context. In terms of residential use in the countryside, it's not an allocated site. It's contrary to the policies of GD2 and GD4. I appreciate the applicant. I think it's probably within supplementary papers takes a different view to that, but that's the conclusion of the officers. Should it go ahead, there's a loss of tourism and economic development. I believe those developments are implemented, and if they weren't, there's certainly potential developments there. And the cumulative impacts, as I said, the character, the residential character would be very different to a tourism use in terms of the impact on the countryside and character and appearance of the area. So on those bases, Chairman, we feel it's really contrary to policies, and we've recommended it for refusal on that basis. We don't see any material considerations that outweigh those conflicts. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. We've got 4 speakers on this. First one is Mr. Peter Bruton. Would you like to come up to the desk? Thank you. You've got 3 minutes. If you want to switch on the microphone. Thank you. And start when you're ready.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Eastwood. What you've said abbreviates sort of what I was going to say. I appreciate your clarification on the variation aspect of the application. That was going to be my first and major point. What I have to say is on behalf of myself and residents, from a resident's perspective, This is the latest in a line of disingenuous applications for buildings on Sutton Lane and seeks to gain favour by inclusion of the term self-build. Self-build to me means that each plot owner would be responsible for the design and construction of each lodge. That's not mentioned in any way in the application, it's just the term self-build. It states that only over 50s retirees would be allowed to live in the lodges. Each lodge would have 2 parking spaces, but the application has both the taxi rank and a minibus stand. The plan also has 2 fishing lakes, a residence shop and residence cafe. It says the development is adjacent to the golf course. There is not and never has been a golf course. These points all support our concerns about the disingenuous nature of this application, but this isn't the platform for speculation about future plans and future applications. Our village is a no-through lane, single track in places due to necessary on-road permanent parking. Has 76 homes already and 9 more approved. There are 5 commercial or utility businesses, and the lane is constantly busy with residents, couriers, utility, delivery, agricultural and business and employees' vehicles. Every one of these vehicles has to enter and exit by the same route, past our homes and via the busy Broughton Way junction. The entrance and exit for the site is designated by the County Council as the end of lane turning point for all traffic. 100 extra residence vehicles using the same point and the same lane is a recipe for disaster. Data and cold facts are before you, mostly gathered remotely or statistically, and probably without much local knowledge. But the ongoing pervasive nature of this war of attrition is all too real for all of us, and you must be aware and consider that. We feel constantly under threat of losing our identity, our community and our village characteristics, and we're under continual pressure to have to justify our very existence as a village. This is yet another money-chasing application which, contrary to a previous statement by the applicant, would destroy Sutton-in-the-Elms as a village, and it will become just a line of buildings from Broughton Way to the B4114. Please refuse this application again as incorrect. It's unneeded, unwanted, and not in line with local or national plans or requirements.
Got any questions for the speaker, please? No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Mr. Hunt. Mr. Hunt, you've got 3 minutes. Start when you're ready and switch the microphone on, please.
A bit like being in front of a Senate committee. Thank you for your time, councillors and officers. Sutton Lane and Sutton-in-the-Elms is a distinct settlement. There is a clear delineation between our village and Broughton Astley. We are proud of our village. We are proud of its history. We are proud of its character. Since 2018, there has been significant growth in the number of properties on our lane. Indeed, there are 26% more properties now than there were in 2018. That's even more than the growth of Fleckney, 26%. These additional properties will add another 70%, yes, 70% to the number of properties in our village. There are no benefits that accrue to the community from this development. The benefits accrue entirely to the developer. Let's just examine some of the costs to us, the community. Firstly, there is a substantial distance from the proposed development to any local amenities in Broughton Astley. All transport will be undertaken by motor vehicle. The pavement does not exist between the village and the proposed development. The developer doesn't propose to build a new pavement. There's no proposal for cycling facilities to protect those who wish to travel in other ways. We are significant distance from public transport. There will be a burden imposed on us, the community, by this development in terms of its impact on the infrastructure, in particular the sewers, which already from time to time fail in our area. There is highway maintenance issues. The burden of the development will fall on us, the community, and it will also fall on the council, because they will have to enforce the idea of it being for over 50s and not for people who are under the age of 50. Thank you. To conclude, the proposed development benefits the developer. The costs are borne by us, the community. We will have to pay higher council taxes to ensure that officers can enforce the new housing development. Please reject this spurious development. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? No, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mr. Colburn. Very much. If you'd like to switch the microphone on, you've got 3 minutes. I'll start when you're ready.
Thanks very much, everybody. I want to echo everything that's already been said, and I'll try and cram as much in as I can. One of the things I'll try and say from a different angle is that there is a gentleman called Mr. Poyner, who is the scourge, the parasite of Sutton in the Elms. He is trying to come in. He lives over in Telford in Shropshire. All he wants to do is come in, make a fast buck, get the land, sell it as quickly as possible without putting any infrastructure in, without doing. And my footpath is not even finished, and I've been in the house 18 months. He sells plots for high lots of money, and then wants, with views and everything like that, and then wants to build all around it, devaluing people's properties galore. But let's get back to the access on this thing. We are one road in here. We are one road, and nearly 100 cars going down this road now is far too much. There is not one accident, there is multiple accidents pending on this. When you factor in then the service lorries and all the service things that come in and go, they're wanting to help with this farcical residential village. Sutton is a very nice place. The track at the end there, when you get there and you looks out over the mill on the Saw and all the road at the bottom. It's not a very nice place to live and look out on. To be a resident in a caravan, to look out there, it doesn't make any sense on any level. This is typical Poyner. Come in, get a harebrained idea, try and get it through with all the legalities and try and skip round loopholes and everything he can to try and get something so I can basically sell his money, get his load off the elderly farm. Let's not get this is coming from an elderly farmer here who's told me he's 85, all he wants is to get some money for his grandkids. Poyner seems to have got his claws into this man to say, right, we'll get anything we can through the system, and what we'll do then is I'll make as much money as I can, disappear out to his nice house in Shropshire, surrounded by fields with no problems. He's a parasite. He's a brilliant businessman, and he'll try and get his way around something, but none of this makes any sense. Seriously, a retirement village overlooking the mill on the Saw, looking down, it's not a pretty place to live. It's just, okay, I couldn't get option number 1 through, so let's try and get number 2 through. Can't get number 2 through, let's try and get number 3 through. Anything so I can make my buck on what I'm doing. Sod the residents, we don't care. We're surplus to requirements. There is no thought for us whatsoever here. But as I say, one lane to get all these cars and lorries and everything else down. Doesn't make any sense. I'm really passionate about this. I'm not as eloquent as what the other two are, but this really has to stop. Enough is enough. Stay out of our village. Leave us alone. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any questions? No, thank you very much. Our final speaker is Councillor Clive Grafton Reid, who as ward member has 5 minutes. Thank you, Clive.
Is it switched on? Yes, thank you. I shan't take 5 minutes. The speakers before me have covered most of the points. And I would thank the officers for the comprehensive report that they had prepared, echoing all of the objections previously. When Councillor Dan and myself asked for this to be called in, it's because it represents a material change to the previous application. And in fact, it deliberately aims to remove the conditions that were placed to avoid excessive building in the countryside. It's a deliberate ploy to get round the proper process. There was no pre-planning discussion with the planning group or the planning officers to try and get any guidance. And in that respect, it is purely a mechanism to get around the problem. We should remember, as the previous speakers have said, there's a history to this site. In 2012, you refused an application for 35 houses. You now have an application for 50 houses with no other significant changes to the application. As the report states, Sutton in the Elms is within the designated area of the neighbourhood plan, Broughton Astley neighbourhood plan, which in its current revision runs until 2028. In fact, Broughton Astley has already taken double its original allocation of houses. And there is no need under the local plan for having any more houses in the whole area, let alone in Sutton in the Elms. Additionally, in the neighbourhood plan, Sutton in the Elms character is recognised and protected to some degree by an area of separation between Broughton Astley and Sutton in the Elms in itself. And that's to avoid it being overwhelmed with additional houses, and which would try and maintain its relatively calm and quiet nature. The Highways Agency hasn't objected to this, and I think that's on a purely mechanistic basis, because the Parish Council have certainly objected to it on both occasions, because if this planning application were to go through, the increased traffic levels would destroy forever the calm and tranquility nature of Sutton in the Alps. I would say that the application has been submitted despite the clear and repeated advice from the officers that a new application was required purely because they know it would fail, or they would expect it to fail. And I would urge you to look at the recommendations or follow the recommendations of the officers here, summed up in 7.6, and refuse this application because it has absolutely no redeeming features whatsoever. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions? Fine. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Our legal representative wants to say something.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Excuse me. Whilst I understand, and indeed as the Chair outlined at the beginning of the meeting, that planning applications are contentious, controversial, and certainly at a local level may arouse suspicion, frustration and other associated emotions, I would urge committee that this application does stand or fall on its planning merits. The character, motive, commercial aspirations of the applicant are not material considerations, and some of the language was potentially taking committee down that road. And I would urge members, again, just to determine this application purely on planning grounds. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. It's open to committee. Oh, sorry, Adrian wants to say something now.
Yeah, so thank you, James, for that. And then just on the highway matters, I appreciate the concerns. I think members will have seen in the report, the highway authority reflectively referred to the fact that there is an extended use for tourism development. So the level of activity in terms of highway safety, if you like, would be comparable to that extent use. So I think that's probably where the highway authority is coming from. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Adrian. Open to the committee now. Who's going to start us off? Councillor Moder, thank you.
Thanks, Chair. It was a really good report. I think it ticks all the boxes and it's very easy to understand. The 2 points that really sort of come out to me are it's outside the it's not in the neighbourhood plan and it's outside the local plan. So I kind of feel that this is something that is outside of the planning when you talk about looking at it as planning matters only and not taking anything else into account. Those are the two that sort of pop out to me anyway as not sort of complying with.
Thank you. Anyone else? I think that's Councillor Worrell. Thank you.
Hi, yeah, I'd just like to echo some of the things that Councillor Murray said, but also, yeah, the loss of going from holiday to residential, and the loss of economic developments of the area. And then, although, like it's already been said with regards to highways, not raising it's a concern, being from around the area. I know how bad traffic is there, so I do disagree with highways on that.
Thank you. We still have to take that and revise when we're in this situation. Anyone got anything else to say? I mean, this is quite a complex one, I think, and it's been very, very well explained by the officer. And if nobody's got anything to say, I'm minded to recommend approval with all the reasons given by the officer. Sorry. No, sorry. I meant to go with the officer's refusal. Sorry. So if anyone has got nothing else to say, has anyone got any more comments? Councillor James, okay, right, yes, sorry, definitely refusal. So that's recommended for refusal by me and by Councillor James. So all in favour of refusing this according to the officer's refusal reasons? Thank you, that's unanimous. Thank you, everybody. That's the final application. The last item on the agenda is to consider any urgent matters, and there are none. So I'll close this meeting at 8:21. Thank you all for attending.